Hello, everyone, and welcome back. New Adjuster Podcast Season 3, season finale, final episode of the season. We've got a very special guest coming up. Over 25 years of experience in the adjusting industry, been training, coaching adjusters for a long time. In fact, right over 12,000 adjusters. We will get to that shortly, right after this. All right, guys, as always, I'm your host, Murphy. I'm in the property training department here at CNC. Again, season finale, very excited, happy that you're joining us. Sad that the season is ending. Will not be the last that you see, obviously, of CNC on our social media platforms and our video platforms as well. If you've missed any of our previous content up until this point, whether it be seasons and or episodes, go back, give them a watch or a listen wherever you get your podcasts. Go ahead, subscribe, CNC, Catastrophe and National Claims. Like this video, hit the bell icon. That way you get notified of all future content. Can't wait to jump into today's episode, and we will go ahead and do that right now. All right, everybody, jumping into today's episode. Again, our guest today, I'll let him introduce himself here in just a second, but just a little bit more about him. Adjuster coach, bilingual. Been a licensed adjuster for over 25 years. Really a personal guide for helping people get started the right way. Not just get started, but get started the right way, which we'll touch on here in a minute. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. My name is Pablo Gonzalez, and I've actually been in the insurance industry for 25 years, been licensed for about 12 or 13.
Okay.
Work with Adjuster Pro, helped licensed over 12,000 individuals.
Gotcha.
And basically just career coaching individuals into this industry.
Right. So no longer with Adjuster Pro, right? You're doing your own thing now.
I'm doing my own thing. It's called
Gotcha.
the Adjuster Coach.
Gotcha.
And I'm really trying to work on helping well-qualified individuals get deployed.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny you say that because coach is a really key word there. Having a mentor is great, but having a coach that can teach you the things, show you the tips and tricks. Like out of college, I was a baseball coach and a teacher in high school. So I get that role of it. You know, hey, you've been there, you've done that, and you can show people kind of, again, the right way. Yeah. Let's talk about that too. People can get started, right? Get started is get the license. But getting started the right way is key. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, typically someone will call and say, I heard all I need to do is get a license.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get work.
Exactly.
And it's definitely your first step.
Sure.
And in some states, it's very simple to acquire a license. You either just take an exam or you go through a course.
Right.
But there's so much more to it.
Yep.
There's so much more. I mean, you have to get software trained. And then you have to start networking with, independent adjusting firms. And those firms, like CNC, are going to provide great training. You're going to have to take that training and just got to keep building and building and building. And hopefully something happens, some sort of major weather event that you get deployed, but you have to become what I call a complete package.
Yep.
So really what you want is an adjusting firm looking at you and saying, Murphy, he doesn't have experience, but he's licensed, he's got a bunch of non-resident licenses, he's got level 1, level 2 Xactimate, maybe he has State Farm certification, or, maybe he's taken a couple of Hague courses and those type of things. He's been here at CNC. We like him.
Right, yeah.
And then we're going to deploy him. That's the way it works. But there is this misconception that just getting a license is going to get you work.
Right. And we've talked about that too, and I'm glad you mentioned that on previous episodes. Like the license is the key to get in the door, but you got to have so many other skills. You need to have, I'm not saying you have to have certain certifications and, but they're almost kind of prerequisites. A lot of these IA firms and sometimes even the carriers, you can speak to that too. Yeah. They really want you to have level 1 or level 1 and level 2 Xactimate or a Hague certification.
That's right.
Or like you said, one of those big red certifications, that people talk. Because just having a license is only going to get you so far. And to your point too, networking. If you don't know the right people, they're not going to know to call you.
Yeah.
What would you give to somebody that wants to network? How would they go about doing it?
Well, the first thing I would do before I encourage them to network is ask him, well, who are you? Right. And coaching in general, like professional coaching, is massive nowadays. It's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry. And it's, because the people that I get, it's just really interesting. And I don't know why this is happening. I can't tell you why, but well-qualified individuals, they lack confidence.
Right, yeah.
It's like in baseball. You have a great player, and then, they strike out 3 times.
Sure,
and their head,
head's not in it. Yeah.
And head's not in it. And somebody will call me, and they'll be like, well, I was a contractor for 20 years. And then I had my own Serve Pro company.
Right.
And now I do mold remediation. But I'm not sure I'd be a good fit for this.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
You'd be a great fit for this.
You'd be a
Yeah.
great fit for this. How can you be second guessing yourself?
Sure.
But I kind of like, filter them out a little bit, in the sense of what they've been doing. And then I tell them, okay, so you got to get your license, you got to get software trained, but, where do you live? So start there. Okay, I live in Alabama. Okay, well, there's great companies in Alabama. You can already apply with them and start getting into their trainings. Yeah. Find that niche in the sense of where you live and what you've been doing.
Right.
I mean, if you've been doing mold remediation, you're going to be a great property or flood adjuster.
Right.
So that's something to do. If you've been working at a body shop for 20 years, you're going to be a great auto adjuster.
Auto's the track, yeah.
But it's interesting because people are just kind of like, I don't know if I'm qualified for this. And you are. This is a great industry. I love this career. Yeah. Adjusting is an awesome career. Yeah. And I would say adjusting is a trade.
It is.
It really is a trade. Yeah. But, that HVAC guy, that plumber, the electrician, the carpenter, the adjuster, those are trades. It's 101 degrees outside. HVAC goes, that guy's going to come in and fix it. Sure. Did that guy just get a license? Yeah. No. That's true. That guy did a lot of, training before he can come and replace my I don't know, the ozone or this and that and the other. Sure. So, it requires, people require coaching, and even well-qualified individuals require coaching in the sense of, it's not about pumping you up. It's about showing you have, my parents are Cuban. I was born here, and they have this thing that they say is give yourself your place. Mm-hmm. Date tu lugar. Give yourself your place. You've earned it. You spent 30 years as a contractor, dude. Yeah. You're going to be a great fit. Yeah. But you're going to have to network, and that means applying, calling, emailing, talking to people, following up. There's a big one. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Believe it or not, that HR department likes when you call them. They do. They really do. It shows that you have initiative and that you're serious about it, too. And that's another part, is being serious about it, not just saying, I think I'll do adjusting. Yeah. You got to be all in. Yeah, and you have to be all in. Yeah. But it takes time. It is a process. Yep. Because it, just like a trade, is not your 9 to 5. Doesn't hire the same way. Right, yeah. You're not going to submit an application and then 2 days or 3 days later, we're going to have interview 1, and then we'll have a follow-up interview. Right. And then, okay, Murphy, you start the week after. Right, it doesn't work that way. And people, people can't grasp that. Mm-hmm. They don't understand it. But it's a very rewarding career. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Well, and it's like we've talked about, too, and, you and I, I'm sure we'll get into today. The best way for a new person to get in is in a large event, right? Because people are needed from every corner of the world, right? It seems like. For those daily claims, a lot of times IAs and carriers, just by default, they pick the folks they know, right? And that's okay. Because they need to put out the best quality. Maybe that's not the best time to get a newer green adjuster involved, right? They go with the folks they know and that have experience. But when a big event happens, which it does every year, whether we like it or not, the big event happens, they bring in all the people. Once you do well, then those daily deployments or opportunities become your opportunities as well, because now they trust you also. That's right. So as you bring in those new people, as those carriers and those firms bring in new people, they're giving you the start. You just got to take it serious. Yep. You got to have the right coaching, like you've talked about, and you just got to have some knowledge and some confidence. That's right. Confidence is the big key. Yeah. Yeah, and there's going to be a steep learning curve. I mean, the first 30 days, it's organized chaos. Right. That's basically what it is. Yeah. But you have to understand that. Yeah, I'm going to learn. I'm going to do this. I have these skills, these soft skills that I bring with me from my previous career, and I have all this training. It's going to be okay. Yeah. And I mean. Did you have a first day at some job somewhere else? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you have a first day at a baseball team? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yep. We all have a first day somewhere. Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. It's going to happen. And what I love about this career is that I see a lot of peer-to-peer mentoring. Yep. I know some really good guys out there that I'll call and I say, hey, this guy called me. He's really well qualified. Mm-hmm. But he wants to ride along or shadow with somebody. Tell him to come with me. Yeah. Tell him to come with me. If he can get here and he can pay his way, he can spend with me the whole week. Yep. And that guy will come back and I'll be like, thank you so much. I learned so much from holding that guy's ladder for a week. Yeah. Well, and you do. And we've mentioned, too, when a firm does well and they have a group or a bunch of great adjusters, they get more work. That's right. And that's the key. Some of these new adjusters, they want to gatekeep. They want to be like, I want to be the only one that's good. That's right. Well, if you're the only good adjuster, that firm's never getting called, right? So it is good to have that peer-to-peer mentoring and coaching. It really is. Yeah. It really is. And for as far as well-qualified individuals, there's plenty for everybody.
Oh, yeah,
There really
is. Yeah.
And, when you get that major weather event, when you get a Hurricane Helene, I mean, that's the opportunity for somebody that's new to kind of knock it out of the park.
Yep.
And, because let's face it, you're going to get a bunch of people, and then natural selection's going to take its place.
Yep. Some folks don't work out. It's just the way it is.
Or some folks are like, wow, I'm in over my head.
Right.
And
some folks have to pick up the slack.
Yeah. And I know like new adjusters that they're like, yeah, I stuck it out. And I was about to leave, but I said, let me just stay a couple more days. And then they were like, hey, a bunch of people left. Can we give you their claim?
Right,
like, okay.
Yeah.
And they stayed for another week. And then they were about to leave again. And the same thing happened.
Yep.
And that 3 weeks ended up being 8 weeks.
Yep.
And they made a ton of money.
Yeah.
But they learned.
Right.
I mean, it's like really well-paid training.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about adjusting is, too, it feels like, really with anything else, the more you do it, the better you get, the more confident you get. So the more opportunities you get by staying a little bit longer and a little bit longer, it's only going to help you in the long run. Because you've seen all the different experiences. You know how to handle this, an upset policyholder, a represented claim, whatever the case may be.
That's right.
Now, we also like to tell adjusters, and I want you to speak to this too, about flexibility. Sometimes new adjusters come in and they're rigid. They only want to do this, and they only want to travel 20 miles. Talk to us a little bit about the flexibility, about what you got to be as an adjuster.
The more flexible you are, the more opportunity you're going to get.
Exactly.
And let's say this process to just like be, doing extremely well at it. Let's say is an 18-month process. Let's just say, a couple of storms, big major storms, and then you're working with dailies. And 18 months is nothing.
Right.
And you just have to take these opportunities and just build on them and build on them and build on them and continue to learn as you do, as you're doing a job. What I've seen people do, though, is they get deployed for 6-7 weeks and then kind of things slow down and they completely stop doing anything to move forward.
Yeah.
And even training is a good way to move forward. And it's like, well, I'm not getting paid for training. But that training is going to open up an opportunity for you in a few months.
Right.
And so I always told new adjusters is keep doing those, keep moving forward. I don't know if you've read a book, it's called Atomic Habits. It's a great book. And it talks about how you every day, even if it's a minuscule improvement, if you do that, eventually it's going to all add up exponentially.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, there's a good analogy there about ice melting at 32 degrees. And it's like you're working hard. You want that ice to melt, and you're at 27 degrees, 28 degrees, 30 degrees. At 31 degrees, you're like, ice is never going to melt. I'm out of here.
Yeah, but you're right there.
You were 1 degree away.
That's right.
And I've seen that happen to a lot of well-qualified adjusters because they're like, well, I don't know, more training. What do I need more training? I need work. Yeah. Well, that training is going to get you work. And at NACA this year, every single adjusting firm that I talked to, they were like, we really don't want people calling us saying, I'm a new adjuster. What do I need to get work from you? We want people calling us and saying, I'm a new adjuster. What training do you offer?
Right, yeah.
That's going to get me deployed sooner.
Right, because again, that shows that initiative too.
That's right.
Would you say that's really the gap that people need to really hone in on between getting licensing and getting the work?
Yep.
Is the going out on the limb and saying, hey, what training do you have?
Yep.
Can I get an opportunity here? Can I do a ride along? So
that's right.
Is that what you'd say probably that biggest gap
and
is?
that all encompasses the networking that I talk about. And it's just like, man, go to those adjusting firms and see what type of things. And like CNC has a great training portal, but there's a lot of stuff in there.
Sure.
And then, not everything might be a good thing for you.
Right.
So take that opportunity and say, hey, I'm applied. I'm on your roster or your reserve roster. And I'm looking at all this training here.
Yeah.
What would you recommend?
Right, exactly.
And then you get this conversation one-on-one with somebody in HR who's going to say, you know what, Murphy, really, based on your experience, you should do this and that. Or you should come in, we're going to have a 5-day class or whatever. And that, it does both things. And I tell people, when you go to a training at an adjusting firm, like if they come here to your CNC facilities, you're going to be doing two things. You're going to be learning to trade, and you're going to be doing informal interviewing.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because that's when you're going to be like, hey, that guy's good.
Yeah. He raised his hand. He asked questions. He was engaged.
That's
Craig always talks about that in training classes. You'd rather have that person than the person who's sitting there and they might be taking it all in, but they're mentally it looks like they're unplugged.
That's right.
They may be taking the greatest notes, but they don't interact.
That's right.
You have no way to judge that as a trainer or as a coach.
Yep.
You have no way to know, are they really into what we're doing here? Or are they just here, right?
Yeah.
Is their body just sitting in a
That's
chair?
right. They're just kind of like, oh, I got to go through this,
Right.
Or like, even sometimes with online training where they're like, they're doing it, but they're really on ESPN drinking their coffee.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, hold on. Yeah, let me click the poll.
Yeah. Answer the question
And then
right.
let me go back to, to see the MLB
Yeah.
highlights.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
doing whatever else I have to do.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So what made you really passionate and into the whole coaching and mentoring aspect? Because again, I know you'd been an adjuster for a while. And
I've been licensed an adjuster.
Okay.
And I've been in the insurance industry for a long time.
Right.
But I've been coaching people since Hurricane Sandy to get into the adjusting industry. Because my good friend Adam Gardner, who owns Adjuster Pro, when Hurricane Sandy hit, they were like overwhelmed.
Sure.
And he's like, hey, can you come and help me do this?
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, I'll help you out. And I started, mentoring, talking to people interested in becoming adjusters. And I mean, I really fell in love with adjusting then because I would get, and I still to this day get a lot of people that are second career individuals who've been working, again, 15, 20, 25 years somewhere, and they want to do something else now, but they're like, I mean, what am I going to do? This 25-year-old was born with a phone in his hand, and his computer skills are like beyond me, and what am I going to do now? Yeah. But this seems like a good fit for me because, again, it's kind of like a trade.
Yep.
So it gave me great pleasure to help those people because there's a lot of them that, again, really wanted to get out from what they were doing, but they kind of felt trapped as what the availability they had, even if they had as far as a degree and things like that. So that helped a lot in the sense of falling in love with the industry. But the most important thing for me is you get to serve. I mean, I was born in Miami. We left South Florida for the Carolinas in 2012. But I've been through many hurricanes. And then Helene, there was like literally a bullseye in my house during Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
But I can tell you back all the way to Hurricane Andrew. I mean, the adjusters, really, you serve a claimant when you know what you're doing.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's the best way you can serve them in the sense of, I know what I'm doing, I'm well-trained, I can read a policy, I know what's covered, what's not. But more importantly, you can tell them, you can serve them, and you can realize that, I mean, they're intangibles. Sure, I can put a roof over your head, I can fix the siding, but your great-grandma's picture that got wet and destroyed.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, Hurricane Helene, Julian Badillo, who was, in the area, we went, and there was, 75-year-old lady with a kitty cat and lost her other two cats.
Right, yeah.
And she was devastated. And yes, we're going to put her house back together.
Sure.
But, you have to be able to serve that person. And then add, the variable that maybe she has a terrible policy.
Right, yeah.
On top of all of that. And really, it was interesting because she was like, oh, yeah, thank you. But can you help me find my cat?
Right, yeah.
It's like, you're going to put a roof over my hat.
Right.
But can you help me find my cat?
Right, yeah.
So, I tell people all the time, it's not a skill, customer service, communication skills, those are all good soft skills. But if you have a servant's heart, you're going to do really well in this industry. Yeah. And I know it's not a popular thing to say, but God's going to reward you, not necessarily financially, maybe just even in relationships. Yeah. But God will reward you. And I've seen that over and over again because, we are attached to our things, even sentimental things. And you lose those during a major storm. If I can tell you a quick story, my parents escaped Cuba in 1961. My mom and my aunt, the only reason they were able to get their wedding pictures out is because they sewed them to the inside of their skirts. Because the communists, on the way out of the airports, they were like, give me your jewelry, you're not taking that with you. Right. Sure, you're coming back, whatever, it's anything. Right. So that's the way they did it. So they took those pictures, they sewed them. My parents moved out of Miami in like 88, Hurricane Andrew's 92. My aunt and my uncle's house had a ton of damage. Those pictures are gone.
Yeah.
Pictures that you stole out of a communist country so you can have some semblance of what your wedding was like in a past life. Gone. Because the hurricane, the tree fell, the house was wet, Yeah. You think that person is like, oh, thank you, we're going to put a roof on my house? They were devastated.
Right, yeah.
They were devastated. And that's what I call collateral damage. Yeah. Hurricane Helene, in my situation, I have 9 kids. 7 boys, 2 girls under the age of 18. So we can go through the jokes. Yes, I'm Catholic. Yes, we have a TV. Yeah. Yes, we know how it happens. Okay, let's just get rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay. But there was no electricity, no water. We were totally unprepared because we were told it was tropical storm.
Sure.
I was driving an hour and a half each way to get eggs and milk. Gas stations open up. Me and my 2 teenagers go get gas at noon. Massive line. Okay. One guy cuts in line, another guy shows him a gun. We're like, we don't need gas that
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Let's go home. So we would wake up at 2:00 in the morning and go get the gas. Yeah. And that's what I call the collateral damage that adjusters have to be aware of.
Right. Yeah.
And, during Hurricane Helene, in my neighborhood, I met a lot of adjusters and I talked to them, and they were great about, oh yeah, we found this damage to your property. In fact, you missed this and we got this, that. But are you okay?
Right. Yeah.
And the Red Cross is at this Baptist church a mile from here. And, oh, did you get online and get your $750 from FEMA? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So those are the type of the adjusters that really do well in this industry, and it's not about, if the policy doesn't cover your contents, you're not going to be able to do anything about that. But that doesn't mean that you can't serve that person in a difficult moment. And it could be mild to moderate damage. Yeah. And it's still anxiety, stress, all that type of stuff. I've seen it and I've lived it and I know it. Yep.
Well, and you, as that adjuster, that person's fence could have blown over. That's a big deal. Yeah. Whether it be just their fence or their whole house is gone. That's right. So you got to, and I'm glad you mentioned it too, the customer service and really the emotional intelligence comes with it. Yeah. And you think, well, that's not really a certification. That's not going to get me on the roster. Yeah, but when you get out there and you can convey that and you can, be with that policy holder, and understand emotionally, kind of mentally what they're going through, it goes a long way because that in turn becomes a good customer service review that gets back to the firm and the carrier, and they're like, whoever that is, give him more work because he got compliments.
You're serving that three-legged stool. You're serving the claimant, the adjusting firm, and the carrier. Yep. And you're taking care of all three of them when you're like, are you okay? Is there something I can do for you?
Right, yeah.
You can give them the script. The insurance company will be with you in 5 to 7 business days, whatever. Yep. And this is what you're going to get from them. But is there anything else I can help with? Right, Are you okay? I see this, I see that,
Goes a long way.
And also know the resources that are available in those situations because, Hurricane Andrew, it was like the homeowners, the National Guards, and the adjusters, So you need to come in prepared, like knowing, what government agencies and those type of things are also helping people, at least be aware of them so that you can give that extra customer service and not be all about putting a new roof.
Right.
I'm going to put a new roof, but, looks like you don't have any food, Right. So, this is where you can get some.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. All right. Let's take a quick break and then we'll jump into part 2 of today's interview.
Sounds good. All right.
All right, everybody. Fantastic first segment today with Pablo. Let's go ahead and jump into our ad of the day before we jump into part 2. Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Leopard Agency. Marketing shouldn't feel like a guessing game. If you're overwhelmed and looking for a way out of the chaos, Blue Leopard Agency has your back. Escape the marketing jungle, reach your ideal customers, and fuel your business growth with a custom strategy. Get started today at blueleopardagency.com. All right, part 2, let's go ahead and get started. Pablo, again, thanks for being here with us. Now, part 1, we talked a lot about those soft skills, those prerequisites, the things besides the license. But we don't want to minimize the importance of the license itself.
That's right.
Now, getting the license, again, for our new adjusters, comes with the initial exam, correct?
That's right.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
So, several different states have different ways of getting your home state license. So, like Florida, Texas, Arkansas, and Arizona, you simply go through a course. Adjuster Pro has a course that is going to give you either a designation or a certificate that's going to replace the state exam. Right. So those states are pretty simple. If you're lucky enough to live in a non-licensing state, that's a great thing because you get a designated home state license, and we recommend Florida because it's the fastest and quickest. So, like Tennessee, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, South and North Dakota, there's about 16 of them. The majority of the states require for you to take a state exam. Not necessarily have a pre-licensing course. Right. And then states like Mississippi, Indiana, and Georgia, they're 2-step states where they require for you to take a course and then go take a state exam.
Sure.
Go take the same test twice.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
But when it comes to those states, this is what I tell people all the time. You have to dedicate at least 40 hours of study. Yeah. You have to make sure that on the practice exams, and again, with the Adjuster Pro courses, there's like I think it's a 20,000 question bank. You can take as many practice exams as you want. Make sure you're getting a 90% on those practice exams. And make sure you know the state-specific stuff well. If you do those 3 things,
you'll be successful.
You will pass. But the license it's your ticket to play, man. Yeah. And one thing I will say about licensing is adjusting has the licenses, they have great reciprocity. Yeah. I live in South Carolina. My South Carolina license, I can use virtually anywhere except California, Hawaii, New York, and now Iowa. Right. But I can use that license anywhere. Whereas I used to many years ago have a North Carolina real estate license.
Okay.
And we lived like right in the border, so everybody was like, you got to get your South Carolina license. I was like, oh, cool. And I looked into it. You have to go take a South Carolina state exam. Whereas with my South Carolina adjuster license, I went on NIPR, Circon.
Yeah.
I'm like literally checking up. Like if it was Amazon.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I was just checking out.
Yep.
Some licenses were $50, some were 160, whatever.
Sure.
But I just checked out. Some of them require like proof of citizenship or something like that. But within 3 to 4 days, you can get a ton of licenses.
Yeah.
So reciprocity is very simple.
Yeah.
It's very important. You live in Alabama, Hurricane Helene,
Yep.
Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina.
Yep.
If you had to individually test for all those states,
Yeah.
I mean, they'd never get adjusters.
Right, exactly. It'd take a long
But if
time.
you just go and get it, well, you should have them already.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
But if you can have to go and get them right away because they're like, hey, we're going to deploy you, you can do it rather quickly because you have that home state license.
Correct.
That's very important.
Correct.
So reciprocity is very important. As a field adjuster, it's life or death as a desk adjuster.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
I helped my father-in-law get into this 10 years ago. He's a desk adjuster. He lives in Miami. He has them all.
Yeah.
Because if you handle a Utah claim, you need a Utah
Yeah, you gotta have a
non-resident
license, yeah.
Or guess what? You ain't getting paid.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one thing I will say about licensing is, and I think you guys have spoken to this before, but people are like, oh, New York doesn't have reciprocity. No, it has terrible reciprocity, but whether you live there or not, you have to take their tests.
Right. I had to do it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But getting a New York license, especially if you're a new adjuster and you're looking at, what extra things am I going to get to be that complete
Bingo.
package?
Yep.
I mean, it's the golden ticket.
Yeah, that's a leg up.
Yeah. So I think it was maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I was at a PLRB, and some speaker was talking about non-resident licenses. And they said that for every 1,000 non-resident licenses, there are only 2 New York non-resident
Exactly.
licenses.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you live in Alabama.
Yeah.
You can simply pay a fee.
Right.
Why am I going to study?
Right.
Go take a New York test. I can work in, 36 other states.
Right.
Why am I going to do that?
Yeah, why do I need this one?
I don't need to do that. Well, a lot of people have thought like that for a long time.
Sure.
And then people also think, oh, I don't want to work in New York City. Well, New York is a lot bigger than just New York City.
Yeah.
And how about winter claims?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So you get that New York non-resident license, you're guaranteeing yourself work.
Yeah.
And we had people at NACA come by and say, oh, thank you. Your course was amazing. I got my New York license. And one guy said, I got work because I got my New York license. And they didn't even give me New York claims.
Yeah.
Just because I had the license,
Right.
they hired me.
Exactly.
And what I would say to a new adjuster today, guess what? Iowa is a new New York
Yeah.
because they went from non-licensing to licensing. And by the way, if you look at the statute, if you look in reading as to why they did it, is because terrible work by unqualified adjusters.
Right.
And then public adjusters coming in and suing everybody.
Yeah.
So there's an example of how training is very important. And I think you're going to see a lot of non-licensing states start doing that. But if I was a new adjuster, I'd tell you, okay, you got your home state license? Great. Before you go and you buy those non-resident quickly, study for New York, study for Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Iowa just started licensing 2 months ago.
Right.
How many people have an Iowa license? Not many.
Probably not many in
Not
2 months,
many.
yeah.
Not many. And you could be a new adjuster and you can learn how you're doing. But hey, you have that Iowa license?
Yeah.
They're going to be like, okay, let's see how you do. And you get that opportunity.
Exactly. When there's very few people that can get that opportunity
right.
because they don't have a license.
Yeah, and the New York license, that's gold, man.
Yeah.
That's good. How long have you had it?
Oh, gosh, since 2019, I think, 2018,
that's
2019,
awesome.
something like that. Yeah.
I can't tell how many people have told me that license has opened so many doors for
Oh,
me.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, when I got it, it was one of those deals where we had a carrier come on. I won't mention them by name, but they had a few New York policies.
Yeah.
But we had to have somebody.
Yeah.
So 2 or 3 of us in the office studied for the test, got the license. Therefore, we were able to get New York claims. Now we get a lot more New York claims, and we've got desk adjusters that we've hired that have New York licenses.
That's awesome.
Right? So without us first couple getting the license and getting that opportunity in the door, all those other adjusters wouldn't be getting the work now.
That's
so
exactly right.
that's kind of what it took was, somebody kind of walking out to the end of the plank and, taking the test. So besides New York, because we all know how important New York is, besides New York, what would you say are the top 3 licenses a new adjuster should have? Let's say they live in a South Carolina, something like that.
Well, I would say this. If you can afford it, I would go from Texas, east to Florida, north to North Carolina. I would do that L.
Yep. All those coastal states. Yeah.
So, Texas,
Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and the Carolinas. Yeah,
I would do that L. And if you can afford it, I would do, like Oklahoma and Arkansas for tornadoes.
Correct.
Those type of things. I mean, if you could. And look, the Gulf is not the only place where stuff happens.
Right.
In fact, I think, a good strategy is, wow, everybody's going to the Gulf because a major storm hit. Maybe there's nobody at the Pacific Northwest,
Right, yep.
and I can go over there and do something different because everybody came down to the Gulf. So that's definitely valid.
Yeah.
But you got to admit it, a lot of stuff happens in the Gulf.
Sure.
I mean, Texas is massive. They get hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, fires, and earthquakes in the northwest corner. I mean, so a lot happens in these states year round.
Yep.
So it just makes sense. I had a new adjuster tell me I did just what you said, and it was $700.
Yeah.
When it was all said and done, all that L.
Right.
And what happens is, and I'm sure this happens at CNC, but I imagine major storm hits, you go on your database, who has a home state license and has that L.
Bingo. Yep.
Whereas there's other, new adjusters that tell me, well, I'm gonna wait until the adjusting firm tells me to get those.
At that point, a lot of times it's too late.
That's what I'm. Do you want them to find you in the first search or the last search?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's $700.
Exactly. Well, and to your point, and I hate to talk dollars, but $700, you work 2 or 3 claims, you've made it back.
You made it back.
That's all it takes, And I know, and a lot of new adjusters, they get scared by the initial expense. The initial expense I can understand if you're a field adjuster, the equipment alone, and then the licenses. But you will make it back tenfold if you put in the initiative and the work up front to get the stuff.
And you're going to have a great career. And like, I told somebody one time, was like, well, I mean, when you add it all up, if I did this and if I went to this other training, and if I got all these licenses, man, it was all like $6,500. And then now you're telling me that I should have like a $5,000 bank in case I get deployed? And I was like, let's say it's $10,000, which is not a small number. It's not pocket change, okay?
Right.
How much career $10,000 worth of college gets you?
Yeah.
Are you going to be making 6 figures with $10,000 worth of college? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're going to make 6 figures right off the bat, but you're eventually going to get there because you invested that.
Right, yeah.
Right? My son's about to go to college. 10,000? That's not even one semester.
Right, yeah, that's true.
And I can't even tell you the classes he's taking.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, that's good. Like I said, I wanted to touch on the exam because although we said the license is just the key, it's not everything else. We obviously don't want to minimize it. So when you have a approach to coaching and mentorship and things like that, would you say it's more hands-on, like to do it in person, or do you do it in some type of webinar or Zoom call, video call, that kind of thing? What's best for you?
So, hats off to Blue Leopard. They've helped me set up my website and my podcast. And, basically what I do is I screen them, because I'm not just going to tell anybody, yeah, sure, I'll give you a consultation.
Right,
And, they come in through my website and that's what I do. I just want to make sure that they have the foundation.
Right.
That's what I want to do at first, to make sure that they're going to be good adjusters. Because, I give a webinar every other Wednesday, and I've had people at the end of the webinar email me and say, man, that was awesome. You the real life stories, that's great. That's not for me.
Right, yeah.
I did my job.
Yeah.
I did my job. It's not for you,
Yeah.
And that's what I want to tell people. I want to tell them the truth. And it's, I don't know. I think it's hard for people to tell people no nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's okay, Again, that example of that gentleman that had been 20 years in contracting, that's great. You're unemployed, you got a couple kids, you're looking for a night and weekend type of job, this is not going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I do at first, just kind of see where they're at before I start coaching them. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about this too, and I want you to speak on it. For those new adjusters, you've even said it today. Just because you get a license, just because you have prerequisites, they're not calling you in 2 or 3 days to offer you the job. Talk to us a little bit how adjusters, and I say this all the time, they got to be patient.
Yes.
They have to be patient.
Yeah.
Do not get discouraged by lining all this stuff up and getting ready to go. You feel like you're 100% trained up and you're ready, and that deployment doesn't happen for 6 or 8 months. Talk to us about the patience aspect, how important that is for an adjuster.
It goes back to waiting for that ice to melt at 32 degrees, and people give up too soon. And so what are you doing in that time? What are you doing in those 6 months?
Right.
What are you? So those habits. Do something, move forward. There's the NAIIA website, the National Association of Independent Insurance Adjusters. You could do a search by your state. Look at all the independent adjusting firms. Hey, my name is Pablo. My name is Murphy. I got my license. I'm level 1, level 2. Can I ride along with one of your guys? Can I shadow? And you know what? Some people are going to tell you no. Oh, okay. Next.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, or even, can I just come in and ask you questions about the industry. I want to see if this is a good fit for me. Those relationships.
Right, yeah.
And you're moving forward. And I've seen it where guys have been like, hey, that was a great tip. And I rode along with this adjuster for 3 days. And that adjuster went back and told his adjusting team manager, hey, that guy was good.
Yeah.
He asked a lot of good questions. He paid attention to detail.
Yeah.
We should give him some claims.
Yeah, you might want to give him a shot. Yeah.
You want to give him a shot. And
Yeah.
it's like, and I never, I've even seen it with daily claims where you think they're not going to give it to a new guy, but the guy was just like networking like crazy.
Right.
And they liked him.
Yeah.
Because he invested. He was always doing something to move forward. Even if it's just learning. I mean, even if you're doing your CEs. I mean, goodness gracious,
continuing
do
education,
something for 6 months until
Right.
you get deployed. And then when you get deployed, that's going to be the best school right there.
Yeah. Would you say that's probably the biggest factor of the people that kind of stall out and kind of fall by the wayside as opposed to the people that kind of keep progressing and eventually get the opportunities and become hey, we trust these folks, we're going to use them more?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's that 80-20 rule where 80% are saying they're going to do what only 20% is willing to do.
Sure.
That's
it.
You know,
can that be our quote for the episode? That's good. That's good.
I mean, I see it, and I'll be honest. I think in 2025 it's more like 90-10. But let's go with the 80-20.
Yeah.
And those folks, they really want to do it, but they're just gonna. I mean, I've had people call me and say, I want to get a license, but I saw on a Facebook post in 2018 some guy who got a license and never got deployed.
Yeah.
It's like you're basing your next career on that one post from
7 years ago.
You know what I mean?
Good, yeah.
So, just ignore that. And, if I can give you another good Cuban saying is the imagination is a crazy person in the house.
Okay.
Which means like you're going to go down all these virtual rabbit holes, these attachment to outcomes. Oh, this is not going to happen. Ignore that crap.
Right, yeah.
But I think it's important, one of the things that I'm trying to do now, not only is coach well-qualified individuals into the industry, but I'm also trying to make sure that I'm pointing them in the right direction with companies like CNC.
Right.
Because I'm not going to badmouth anybody, but there are companies out there that don't treat new adjusters well.
Sure.
They don't. And I've heard of guys from like, I was able to get deployed, finished in October, I didn't get paid till May.
Yeah.
That's wrong, man.
Yeah.
Or, I was a new adjuster and they gave me a fee schedule and then 6 weeks in, they changed it.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, I'm not going to call out any names or anything like that, but, the great things about companies like CNC and the other major ones that I know that have done well by their adjusters is that I can say, man, you're really well qualified. You should go to CNC.
Right, yeah.
And that's the other thing that I'm trying to do is just to make sure that I'm sending people to the right places.
Right.
And there's a lot of great adjusting firms, and you guys have a really good thing going on here. Yeah. You constantly hear it on your podcast. I mean, you bring in, you had those 3 guys that were field adjusters.
Right, yeah.
And those guys love working here.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about it, too, is there's always going to be a need for adjusters.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, you get told as a kid, go into a field where there's something they're always going to need.
Yep. That's
They're
right.
always going to need adjusters. Insurance claims aren't going away. And as much as people want to say, and you've heard it too, you go to these conferences, AI is taking over.
Or the drones. The drones are taking over.
If I have to hear it one more time, I'm going to get sick. Because the drones and the AI doesn't have what we talked about earlier, that emotional intelligence, that, sympathy, empathy.
Yeah. That's right.
Sure, they can write a claim for you. They can take pictures and then, do a 3-dimensional photograph. All that's great. But they don't have the adjuster customer service, and that cannot be replaced by any type of AI.
Absolutely,
in
not.
my opinion.
And that emotional intelligence, that's called EQ, an emotional quotient. And there's people that have very high IQs that have zero EQ.
Zero EQ, yeah.
Okay, but the other thing about AI is, and I think it was either Chris Stanley or maybe Matt from Adjuster TV, but they put a picture and it was a kitchen fire, right? And they sent it to a desk adjuster, and then they're like, "This is AI generated."
Yeah.
So we need the adjuster to go to the house.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Because there's this flip side. It's called fraud.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's that big
AI ain't only for good things.
That's almost a cuss word in the adjusting industry.
That's right. Did I say that? I'm sorry.
No. You're
it's
good.
the F word.
Not the F word.
Not the, but the second one.
That's right. So what would you say the biggest mistake that new adjusters make? We may have talked about some of them already, but a new adjuster getting into it, they get the opportunity. Let's go ahead and fast forward. They get the opportunity. What's the first mistakes or the big mistakes that you think adjusters might make that you try to coach them out of?
The opportunity as far as they get deployed?
Right, they get deployed. Okay. They get in the work.
Well, they didn't really put in the time to really understand what they were getting into.
Right.
Number one, there's financial consequences. You're going to be gone for a month. That's a month of hotels.
Sure.
Food,
Yeah.
There's going to be, relationship issues. You're going to leave your family back.
Yeah.
food also is a big one in the sense that you eat crappy food for a month, you're going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
So those are the things that they kind of don't pay attention to. But sometimes, people don't listen. And I will tell you that after a license, I think policy comprehension and anything having to do with construction is what you should, those 6 months that you're talking about, like I'm just hanging out, I'm not getting deployed. Maybe I'm doing part-time jobs or I'm doing my regular job just waiting to get deployed. You had 6 months and you didn't take the time to take a good policy class or learn more about construction. In construction, you could literally go to a Home Depot on a Saturday and they'll have a little, how to remodel your bathroom. You know what I mean? Because obviously they want you to be like, oh, I can do this. Let me go buy the supplies.
Let me go buy the stuff.
But then you get there and you find out about grout, you find about backsplash, all this stuff. That could be that simple. Or your local community college, a basic intro to construction class. So what I've seen is, yes, you're anxious about those 6 months. When am I going to get deployed? And then boom, you get that opportunity, and it's like, oh man, I should have. Boom, I should have.
I didn't prepare this.
And you had those 6 months. So lack of preparation. That's for sure.
Well, and the comprehension of it too. I can read a book, but if I don't comprehend it, I don't understand what's going on. It's just words going in my mind and going out the other ear. Sitting in those training classes, Craig says it all the time. You could be there in body, but you got to be there in mind too. You got to be able to comprehend it, take it in, and let it stick. Because some people, they hear it and then a week it's gone. And
men, we're so good at admitting that we don't know. Like, can you just raise your hand and be like, wait, can you go by that again? What do you mean coverage A? Because we're embarrassed. You know what I mean? But no, don't be embarrassed. Ask the question. That way you learn. And personally, I suggest taking notes. That's, for me, the easiest way to remember stuff. And you know what? Maybe tomorrow you might have to ask it again. It's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Everybody was there at some point.
Was there
Every experienced adjuster was in your shoes at one point.
That's right.
We always say everybody had a first day.
That's right.
In adjusting, everybody had a first day.
Everybody had a first
deployment.
And what I love about this industry, that there isn't a lot of people. I really haven't even heard of one person say, oh yeah, I was a group with a bunch of well-seasoned adjusters and they were just looking down on me. No. On the contrary.
Never.
They lifted me up.
I've never heard that.
Never heard that. That's what I love about this industry. They're totally trying to help people. Okay, this is your first, listen, come over here. This is the way you got to do it, bro. And they help. They will help you.
My first couple deployments in auto were the same way. A group of veterans there. I'm the brand new guy. They're like, hey, follow me all day. Watch how I estimate this vehicle. Hey, watch how I write this supplement. Listen to me. Listen to me call this body shop and negotiate an estimate with them. That's a lot of it too. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I say it all the time, and I'm glad somebody else said it, is I've never heard of a experienced adjuster not giving a new adjuster the time of day or the knowledge. Because again, if you pass it along, it makes you feel good. And you know that if they're on your team doing well, then everybody's getting more claims. Everybody eats more. That's just the way it is. So.
And guess what that is? More service. That's more service. How could you have a servant's heart and want to help a claimant, and then
but you don't want to help your neighbor.
You want to help the newbie.
That's
right there in the team, and he's like overloaded because he's trying to close 4 a day. Maybe, and he's like 4 behind, and policy doesn't understand. You're gonna let that guy just drown. But you're gonna take care of the claimant. And I haven't seen that. I've seen just a lot of peer-to-peer mentoring and helping, and that's what I love about this industry.
All good stuff. Well, before we wrap up, if you had to give a top 3 new adjusters from your coaching background and expertise, maybe a top 3 things. Hey, make sure you do those 3. You'll be on the right track to success. I'm not going to say you're going to go A to Z with just these 3 things, but you are well on your way. What would be your 3?
We kind of touched on some of this stuff, but I would immediately say get your license, which is going to be a very simple process. 40 hours. What's 40 hours? When you have 9 kids, 40 hours is like this. Okay, there you go. 40 hours. Get some sort of software training. So maybe you're auto guy, so CCC or Mitchell or whatever, or Xactimate or Simbility or CoreLogic, whatever. Get the
whatever it's called now.
But that's right,
because they've changed names a few times.
I know. But then the third and most important thing is accept with humility and be coachable. Be coachable, and which includes active listening, which people don't do. So accept with humility, and the guys are the ones that struggle with this. The women, they're just like, okay, that's great. I understand. I'll do it this way from now, or I'll never do that again. Guys, just accept. You don't, you were a contractor for 20 years. That's awesome. How many days you been an adjuster?
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So there you go.
It's a difference.
Be coachable.
Yeah.
And again, in the peer-to-peer mentoring, I've never seen anybody like, sigh, roll their eyes or anything like that. No, they're going to coach you, but understand that you're not going to know it all.
Yeah.
But you're going to show up as a complete package with those skills, licensing, software training. You've done training with the IA firms. You kind of know the guys already. And then from there on, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be day 2. It's going to be day 3. It's going to be day 40, day 75.
Yep.
And, it's funny because we always talk about, I'm sure you know this, how California for residents requires 4,000 hours of adjusting experience. And we're like, that's like one hurricane.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Before you know it, you're going to learn so much.
Yeah.
You're going to learn so much. But you have to be coachable and you have to listen.
Yep.
And if you can accept that with humility, you'll learn right away, and you'll do really well in this industry.
Yeah, because you as a coach and mentor, me as a trainer, it's our job to help you.
Yeah.
Let us help you. That's what we're here for.
So I'll give you an example. They got their license, they got software trained, so I send them, maybe 60 adjusting firms.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you need to apply, and you need to call over there. And as soon as you get on the roster, you need to call and ask about training, whatever. And then 2 months down the line, oh, man, I haven't found any work. Oh, man, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So those 60 firms, how many did you apply to? 2.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And what happened? Well, they send me an email about as soon as there's work, they'll reach out to me. Okay, great. And then what happened after that?
Right, yeah.
I guess there was never work because they never reached out to me. It's like,
yeah. Well, there's always work.
There's always work.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, man. And
you just got to chase it down.
You got to chase it. And then once you get it, you'll do great.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. I tell people, like, getting your first claims, that's your job at first.
Right, yeah.
But once you get those first claims and you do well, you'll have work.
Yeah, the
forever.
doors will open.
Yeah, the doors
Ones
will
that you
open.
didn't even know were there.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Awesome. Well, Pablo, again, we appreciate you being here.
Man.
Thanks for being here in our studio, too. That's great.
Place, man.
So, again, thanks for being here. Our season finale guest. Hopefully we'll have you back again sometime.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see what the future holds, man.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
All right, everyone, we just wrapped up another fantastic season finale to season 3. Big thanks to Pablo for being here. Awesome adjuster coach, really has a lot of good stuff. Obviously, we're going to reference him and push him, as we think he's a fantastic resource, especially for new adjusters. Again, if you missed any of our previous episodes or seasons, go back, give them a watch or a listen wherever you get your podcast. Although this is the finale, it is obviously not the last you will see of CNC and myself. As we are really in peak hurricane season now, take everything you've learned from this season and these episodes to train, get ready. The opportunities are coming. We obviously look forward to watching you grow and hopefully getting you some opportunities with CNC or any other firm in the insurance adjusting industry. Make sure you follow us on our social media platforms, CNC, Catastrophe, and National Claims. Like this video, hit the bell icon again so you get notified of all of our upcoming content as we move forward through hurricane season and even into next off season, so on and so forth. Last thing I want to do before we let go today, I want to say a huge thank you to Blue Leopard Agency, Jeremiah especially, Senneth, her entire team for helping us make this podcast possible and bringing all this great content to you. So as always, we will see you next time.